Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Katie. Today's video is going to be another one brand look. The brand that we are going to be using today is Collection Cosmetics. The Collection is a super affordable brand. I believe it's just a UK brand. It might be available in like Europe as well. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I definitely think it's like originally like a UK brand. It's sort of like a brand that like most people use when they're like starting to get into makeup when they're really young, because it's so affordable. Like I don't think anything's over like £8 is probably like the maximum. In fact, the maximum might actually be lower than that. I feel like most of the products from them are like under £5. It's a super affordable brand, and I have obviously tried a lot of Collection over the years, and they actually have a lot of really good hidden gem products, a lot of really just good quality products that you wouldn't necessarily expect for the price. I do think they're quite an underrated brand because they do have some really good products. I do think, however, they still need to like really improve when it comes to like shade ranges. I believe their Lasting Perfection, the matte foundation, I believe they have expanded the shade range of that a bit. I believe it does have like about 20 or so shades now. But I know like some of the newer foundations that they've come out with just don't really have the best shade range. So yeah, shade ranges are something that they still definitely really need to work on. They have like improved from where they originally started, which was shockingly awful. But they definitely have sort of improved, but I still feel like they've got a way to go with that, which is a shame because I do feel like otherwise they do have like good products. I do think it is a really good affordable brand, but I just think it would be better if like everyone was able to use it. So I have a complete full face today, nothing is skipped. I would just be using Collection on my face today, so we're just going to go ahead and go into it. I'm going to start with my eyes. I've not actually practiced for this makeup look at all. I am just making this up on the spot. Some of the products I have in this video, like I've had in my collection for a while, they're like ones that I know and love. A few of them are more newer purchases that I've only used like 1 or 2 times because I bought them recently. But obviously I will explain when we get to each product. But the first product I'm going to be using is the first product that I'm going to use as an eye base is the Lasting Perfection Stretch Concealer Plus Eyeshadow Primer. So this is actually a newer product from them. I've only used it like 1 or 2 times so far. The shade I have is 2 Porcelain. It's quite a creamy, quite an oily formula. I like it as an eyeshadow base, but I did use it as a concealer and I just found it like way too oily. It just looked far too oily on the skin. But it does also have really good coverage, and the shade's actually not too bad. So yeah, absolutely fine as an eye base, but I just feel like this is way too oily and thick for a face concealer. But it's okay because I have the Lasting Perfection concealers, which I like considerably more as face concealers, but I will use this as my eyeshadow base. Something to note about this is that it also has a really strong like candy sort of smell, which is really weird. Like it just smells sort of like Parma Violets or Love Heart Sweets. It just very strong. So I don't know, I feel like some people's skin might be a bit sensitive to that, but I mean I'm just using it as an eyeshadow base, so it doesn't really matter. I think I've probably put too much on. So yeah, it actually does have really good coverage. Like it has proper blanked out my eyelids, so it's pretty decent as an eyeshadow base. Now for eyeshadow itself, I have the Sahara Dunes eye palette, which again is a new product that I've brought. I've only used it once so far. It's quite a neutral sort of smoky kind of palette. You've got shimmers on the top row and mattes on at the bottom row. A few months ago I did a video that was like full face of makeup £5 and under, and the one thing that I struggled with was the eyeshadow palette. But if I were to redo that video today, I'd actually have one, because this is a £4.99 I believe, so super affordable. Again, I've only used it the one time, and I would say I was pretty impressed actually. I do think the shades themselves are good quality eyeshadows. I just kind of feel like there's not really much variety of this palette, and I feel like these 2 mattes at the end are just way too similar to each other. I feel like you need a shade that's kind of in the middle of this shade and the black, as opposed to this one which basically just comes out black as well. They really should have just gone for like a darker brown instead of this sort of like off black colour, in my opinion. So I'm going to do something fairly neutral and glam, maybe a little bit of smoke in there. So I'm going to start with this sort of transition-y shade, this sort of browny, orangey toned matte. And that's just going to go in the crease area. And this is actually like a pretty decent shade. It's got good pigmentation, good blendability. That's the thing, I think this palette is like pretty decent quality considering how affordable it is. It's just there's not really like a lot you can do with it other than just like a simple glam look. They do have like a few different like colour versions of this palette though, like there were some sort of like purpley ones and like a few other sort of shade variations of it. Like it's actually a really nice transition shade. They just need a shade that sort of goes between the black and this shade more. Then I'm going to go in with the sort of off black shade because I don't really have much choice, to be honest. And I'm going to work a little bit of that underneath. I mean, it basically just comes out black and it's just like, why have you got two shades that are basically the same thing in the same palette? So I'm now going to go back to the concealer and I'm going to do a sort of cut crease, but I'm going to sort of make it sort of like a wing shape and bring it right out. We'll see how this goes. Okay, so over that cut crease, I'm going to use the matte sort of white creamy shade, and I'm going to pretty much set the whole of that down with that shade. Then I'm using the same white shades just under the brow bone. Then I'm going to use a little bit of this sort of pale gold shimmer shade, and I'm going to tap a little bit of that over the cut crease as well. Now I do have two of the Glam Crystal Dazzling Gel liners from Collection. I think I'm going to use the silver one, which I believe is the shade Glitz. And the brush is absolutely messed up on that, so I'm using a different brush. And I'm going to just put some in the cut crease area. It was a little bit difficult to get product up there, but we got there in the end. So I'm just going to go ahead and catch up on the other eye. Okay, so we are caught up on both eyes. So next I'm going to put some eyeliner in the waterline. So I've got the Collection Eye Definer Lasting Colour in black, which is this here. It's a Twisty Up eyeliner pencil. I've definitely used this at least once in the past. I remember using it a few years ago. But I repurchased one for this video, so I'm just going to put this in my top and my bottom waterlines. And I've also got a liquid liner. This is their Extreme 24-Hour Felt Tip Liner, which again, I've definitely tried this in the past. I remember using it before, but I repurchased it for this video. So I'm gonna do a wing. Let's see how this goes. I don't know what size wing, but it's gonna be a wing of some description. It does have quite a chunky tip. It's not the most precise tip I've seen with a liquid liner, so this might be a bit difficult. so for mascara, I'm going to be using the Lash Surge False Lash Effect Mascara, which is one of my all-time favourite mascaras. The packaging is different to what it used to be, so I don't know if the formula's any different. Again, I've only used it the one time so far since I've repurchased it, and it seemed to perform pretty similar to how I remembered it. So I'm just going to apply this on my top lashes. Yeah, this mascara is like $4.99 and it looks like you're wearing false lashes. It's ridiculous. Okay, so moving on to base, I have a primer. This is the Primed and Ready Anti-Fatigue Illuminating Primer. Again, this is a newer, so this is a new one I've purchased. So I've only used it like once, and it's sort of like a white kind of cream. And I'm just gonna rub this in all over my face. Give me a little bit of glow under foundation. I wouldn't really say the primer does a lot, to be honest. Like, there's like a tiny bit of extra glow on my face, but nothing major. I don't think it's going to become a new fave primer for me. Now, I do have some of the colour correcting lasting perfection concealers. I've got a lavender one, a green one, and a yellow one. And I think I will use some today because I'm having some breakout slashes on the bottom half of my face, which is so fun. So I'm going to start with the yellow one, which is lemon. And I'm just going to put a little bit of that just under my eyes to correct my bags. The foundation and the concealer that we're going to use do have pretty good coverage anyway, so I don't really need to use colour correctors, but I've got them, so why not? And I'm going to use some of the green one, and I'm just going to pop some of this on my nose and around all of the breakouts on the bottom half of my face. I'm just loving life right now. Okay, so for foundation, we have the Lasting Perfection Matte Foundation, which I have talked about on my channel before. I put a card up for the first impressions I did of this and the updated review on this. I actually really like this foundation. I think it's really good, especially considering how affordable it is. It's got great coverage, it's long wearing, it's got a nice matte finish. It's just think it's a pretty good foundation, to be honest. The shade I have is Porcelain 2, which is a tiny bit pale for me, but we will make it work. So I'm going to go ahead and just apply this all over my face. So back to concealer again, the Lasting Perfection concealer. I've got a Porcelain 2 here, and then I have one of the older formula ones. This one is an Extra Fair. I think they reformulated it slightly, I'm not sure. It might have just been a packaging change, it might just be something in my head. But I do feel like they changed the formula a little bit. I feel like it has a little bit more coverage now, and is a tiny bit more hydrating. It's still a fairly matte concealer though. But I'm going to use Porcelain 2 just under the eyes because it's quite pale, and then I'll use my older one just over blemishes, although I have already got pretty decent coverage because I used colour corrector, but might as well add more. Let's just go full cake face today. So after all that, I would say we have pretty full coverage now. I'm pretty happy with this base. I do have a contour stick to use though. This is their Precision Contouring Stick in 01 Light. So I am just going to use this before I set my face down and do a little bit of cream contouring not massively into cream contouring, but I have a few like contour sticks in my collection which I use occasionally. I do find it quite fun actually, like sort of penciling your face in like this. So I'm just going to kind of do like the usual contour spots. So moving on to setting powder, I have the Lasting Perfection Sheer Loose Powder Matte, which is the translucent one. It is just like a white shade. It just comes in like about 4 different shades, I think. And then I also got one of their just pressed powders. These are like $1.99. They've had these for years. They're so cheap. I remember I used to get this one all the time when I was younger. It's the shade Ivory. Because I remember like back then it was really hard to find like setting powders that were like pale. And this was like one of the ones I could always go to. And I've repurchased this again for this video. Again, I've only used both of these the one time. So I've not really formed like a solid opinion on them yet. But I'm going to start with the loose powder. And I'm going to use that to do my under eyes. So I'm just going to use a sponge and set my under eyes down with that powder. Don't have any complaints about this powder. I feel like it's really similar to the Huda Beauty one I'm using. Like, I don't feel like it's any worse. In fact, maybe I like it a little bit better. I mean, it's definitely brightened, it's set, nothing's separated, it's done the job. I'm going to switch to the pressed powder and I'm going to just use that to set the rest of my face down. That's our base finished. Honestly, everything looks pretty good. I would say it's a little bit heavy. I would say it's a little bit on the heavy side, but then bear in mind that there's a lot of layers going on there because I use color correctors as well, so that's kind of to be expected. But yeah, I feel like it's a pretty good base, really good coverage. Everything looks pretty smooth and matte. None of my pores are emphasized or anything. Yeah, I feel like you can get a really good base from this brand for not a lot of money. When it comes to like cheek products, I don't feel like Collection is like my go-to brand. For cheek products, I did struggle a little bit with this. Starting with bronzer, I definitely tried a few of their bronzer products in the past and I did end up decluttering most of them. But I did pick up another one for this video, and this was their Gorgeous Glow bronzing brick, but it did arrive completely smashed, which was a bit annoying. Ended up doing the classic Katie trick is mushing it all back together with my fingers so it has formed a hole again, but usually it looks like a sort of brick. It's like about 6 different stripes in it. This is the only bronzing product I have from them, so it's gonna have to do. So I'm just gonna dip into this and use it to just warm up my face. Done a pretty decent job. It's not bad. It's not like the most ideal shade in the world. That is because there's like 50 different shades mixed together because it was smashed. But I do feel like it's done a decent job. It's warmed up my face. It's honestly not bad. It's kind of usable like this, to be honest. The highlighter, I have one of their Gorgeous Glow highlighters, which is a newer release from them. This one's in the shade Opal. So they have this shade, which is a sort of goldy kind of colour. And then they have a sort of pinky one as well. So I'm going to dip into this and pop it in the usual highlighting spots, of course. It's not the best highlighter, it's quite natural. You do have to build it up quite a bit. I mean, if you're into a really subtle highlighter, you might like it, but it's just not. It's not the best. It's not awful, but it's not the best, to be honest, but it's done the job. We have a little bit of glow on the face. I've also got a blush. This is the Soft Glow blusher. It's in the shade number 4, Trouble. It's really teeny tiny. That's what the shade looks like. I think it does come in 4 different shades. I just kind of went for this sort of muted kind of cooler toned pink. So I'm just going to pop a bit of this on my cheeks, a little bit on the nose. I like it, it's just a nice subtle blush. It's got a little bit of glow in there. I really like the shade. Honestly, there's absolutely nothing to complain about. It's done the job and it's very affordable. It's like $2.99 or something ridiculous. Okay, so we're going to do brows next. So I've got two products. I've got their Fast Brow Tinted Brow Gel. This is actually discontinued, but they have a product called the Incredibrow, which is literally the exact same thing as this. It's the exact same format where it's like a doe foot with brow gel on it, so it's just kind of like an updated version of this really, but I imagine the formula is pretty similar, so I didn't really feel like there was any need to buy the new one. I do also have a pencil, which is the Incredibrow Brow Definer in Dark Brunette, which is like a really similar format to the kohl eyeliner. It's like the same sort of twisty up thing. Okay, so with the brow gel, I'm gonna just brush through my brows with a spoolie first, and then I'll use like an angled brush to sort of paint on my brows. Just getting some product off the doe foot and then just using this angled brush, and we're just gonna paint the brows on. I do quite like this product. I think it is pretty decent, to be honest. I like the shade as well. Nice cool tone brown. Okay, so I'm going to use the pencil now, and I'm just going to sort of just add a little bit to this. This isn't my usual format for pencils. I prefer like thinner ones. This one's quite thick, but the product itself isn't too bad, so I'm just going to add a little bit more definition with this. I did also see that they do have a newer brow gel that does actually have like a brush attached to it, but it was not on Superdrug when I did this order, so I may pick that one up in the future, but I feel like the gel that I used today does a decent job anyway. Yeah, I'm happy with those brows. They look okay. A little bit thick, but that's fine. So back to the eyes, I'm going to put a little bit of the Opal highlighter in the inner corners. I might use a little bit of the shade as well, because I didn't really get much intensity with that highlighter in the inner corner, so add a little bit of that too. Okay, so I'm going to use the same transition shade I used earlier and wax some of that on the lower lash line. Then I'm going to go right up to the lash line with this shade, and I don't know, I might tap into a bit of the black as well, just right up to the lash line. I'm going to put some more Lash Surge on my lower lashes. Okay, so for lips, I have one of their Velvet Kiss moisturizing lip creams. This is in the shade Caramel number 2. Again, I think these have like a different packaging now. This is quite old. So I'm just going to apply this to my lips. Okay, so that's pretty much everything applied. So I'm going to, as usual, sort my hair out, clean up the mascara smudges that are probably all over my eyes, and I do have a setting spray, so we will use that when I'm back as well. Okay, we are back. So lastly, I'm going to put on a bit of the Primed and Ready Dewy Makeup Fixing Spray from Collection, and then we are done. Okay, so this is the finished look, a full face of Collection makeup. I'm pretty happy with it. I feel like it's turned out pretty good in the end. It's nothing too adventurous, it's a very simple look, but yeah, I think it's done the job. Collection, I would say, is probably one of my favourite brands from the drugstore. I definitely think it has got a lot of really good products. I think this video just goes to show that there are a lot of really good products. I'd say like my ultimate favourites are obviously the Lash Surge mascara. That's an incredible mascara, you have to try that. I really like the foundation and the concealers. I think they're really good. Always been a fan of their Glam Crystals. The blush is really nice. I like the contouring stick. The setting powders I think were pretty good. Honestly, they do have a lot of just really good products. Honestly, there's nothing here really that I just thought was bad, to be honest. I feel like it's all pretty good. I have some that like aren't my favourites, like I don't love the brow pencil that much. I mean, and the bronzer, it's okay, but probably not a go-to for me. The liquid eyeliner is like a little bit chunky. It's a little bit hard to get like a precise kind of eyeliner with it. I mean, we got something in the end, but yeah. But I feel like overall, most of the products are so cheap, so affordable, and actually really good, which is great. That's all we want. The only thing they really need to do is improve the shade range. They obviously have done it a bit with the Lasting Perfection Matte Foundation, but it just needs more. Like, we always need more. That's the thing, as I mentioned when I was using the foundation earlier, it's actually like a little bit too pale for me, so it's like they put extra thought into like the pale end of the spectrum, but they just didn't really bother when it comes to like the deeper end of the spectrum. Might be the last one brand look I do for a while, because I am planning on going on a no-buy next year, so the one brand thing will be on hiatus probably for a little while. I don't think I have any plans to do any for the rest of this year. I don't think so, but we'll see. So thank you for watching this video, and I will see you in my next one. Goodbye.